Hello, everybody. It is 5 o'clock on Tuesday, and this is Live with Lisa. It is so lovely to be back. Last week, I don't think I did a live, but maybe I did. I know that we've been scheduling some pre-recorded ones because I've had a lot of events going on. And last week we had a retreat here in Santa Fe at our home with 18 beautiful, beautiful women who have all gone through my course, my Emotionally Naked Dating course. And they were here. We got to meet 18 beautiful women from across the country, many of whom have found the guardians of their souls through doing work with me and my husband, Benjamin. So if you're interested in learning more about that, please go to lisashield.com and you can just click the button there and it will take you to my presentation, my free 45-minute presentation. So please check that out if you are interested in finding the guardian of your soul and not wasting another moment out there just trying to figure this out on your own. So today we are going to talk about something very important. But before we do that, I just wanted to let everybody know that this will be my last Tuesday night Facebook Live. I will continue to do Lunch with Lisa on Monday at from 11:30 to 12:30 Mountain Time. So anybody who wants to tune into that can do that. And we are going to be migrating a lot of this over to my podcast. So please know I will be doing the Tuesday Facebook Live, but I will no longer be doing this one. Lisa's got to free up some time. So that's the plan here. I apologize for any of you who cannot come on this, but I will tell you that I have a podcast. It is fantastic. We release 2 episodes every single week, and that is called Dating Without Drama. And you can find that anywhere you get your podcasts. So you can get Dating Without Drama on Spotify, on Audible, on Apple, and I think a few other platforms as well. So please check that out. All right. So it is lovely to see all of you. And tonight I'm going to talk about romantic projection. So I'm sure from psychology, most people today are familiar with what projection is, but I'm going to talk about it. So projection is when you have a movie going on in your own head, or a fear or an inhibition. I mean, it can be anything that's going on inside of you that you are actually putting onto another person. So let's say that I have a fear of intimacy, or maybe I'm afraid of being vulnerable or emotionally naked. I might project that onto a guy that I'm dating, and I may say that he's afraid of being vulnerable when actually I'm the one who's not vulnerable. But I am projecting my lack of vulnerability, my fear of being seen onto that other person. So I'm saying, well, he's not emotionally available. And so, that's why I'm feeling this way, when in truth, I might be the one who's emotionally unavailable, but I'm blaming it or projecting that onto the other person. So, hi, Lisa Cohen. It is good to see you, honey. We had a great retreat. I wish you had been there. You would have really, really enjoyed it. So projection is when we take something that is actually our issue, our inhibition, our whatever, and we actually superimpose that almost like a movie projector onto another person. And hi, Emma, good to see you. We project that onto another person, and then we say that they're the person doing this particular thing when it's really us. One of the, there are two kinds of projections. Essentially, there are negative projections, but there are also positive projections. So when we get into romances, when we start to become intimate or feel a connection with somebody, it is very easy to have what's called positive romantic projections. And we often talk about negative projection, but a lot of times people don't talk about positive projection. And positive projection in many ways can be just as bad or as damaging as negative projections. They can be as limiting, they can cause us to make false assumptions and get into the wrong relationships with people. And so this is something that you really want to be aware of, because I see so much of this, especially in the very early stages of relationships. We will often see women in our course meeting a guy and just projecting all of these positive things onto this person when they don't even know him. So how many of you, Lisa Cohen says, I know it well, Eddie. Yes, Lisa, you went through that not too long ago. It is a very easy thing to do. So we start to take what we want to see and what we want to believe in a relationship, and we project all of these positive qualities onto a man that we're dating. Yep, we do. We start to project all of these positive qualities. And so it's almost like we're just seeing this person and this budding romance with rose-colored glasses. And I have blue-colored glasses, if anyone can see, blue blockers. But we project all of these positive qualities onto a man that we're just getting involved with in the very early stages of a relationship. And it's very dangerous because we can vest that person with all of these things and then miss the negative things, not ignore the red flags, because we're just so enamored with all of these positive things that we're projecting onto this guy. And Lisa says, I was in love in 2 weeks. Yeah, you fall head over heels with somebody. You're glorifying all of these amazing things about this person. And some of them may not even be true, right? You're just seeing what you want to see and believing what you want to believe. And it can cause us to go very fast into a relationship with somebody that we don't know. A lot of this is driven by chemistry. We start to feel a connection with a man, and then it lights us up. We feel good. He makes us feel things that we might not have felt in a long time, or maybe ever in our lives. And so all of those good positive endorphins, all of those hormones that start to flood our system can cause us to start to see something that isn't really there. And a lot of us, myself included, you start to create a romance and a story about a man that isn't even true. And yes, it can be exhausting. It can be exhausting, but you start to create this story that isn't true. He's so wonderful. He's so this, he's so that. I can't believe it. There were so many synchronicities. We both like the same music. We both, grew up in the same town. We both, whatever, and you start making up a story and making meaning out of things that mean nothing. So when I met my husband, Benjamin, I really was done with romantic projection. I knew it wasn't healthy. I promised myself that the next time I got into a relationship, I was not going to do that. I was going to keep both feet on the ground. And no matter what I saw, no matter how great somebody was, I wasn't going to rush in. I wasn't going to make up any stories. And there were some really extraordinary synchronicities, we'll call them, with my husband and me. So with Benjamin, he was very good friends with we had a mutual friend in common, which was really unusual because this man, LA is a very big city, and this man was somebody that I knew quite well and I liked a lot. And he was kind of a colleague of Benjamin's, and they knew each other very well. And one of the big synchronicities was that I had read one of Benjamin's 4 books that he had written about a month and a half before our first date. And that was really a synchronicity because of all the millions and millions of self-help books out there, I happened to read one of Benjamin's books like a month and a half before we went on our first date. And that was pretty extraordinary, right? But I was also in a class with 260 other people who all read the same book at the same time as me. So, a lot of people have said to me, oh my God, that's amazing, and whatever, and like been really excited about it. And I was like, synchronicity, what can I say? But it didn't make it mean anything about us meaning, being meant to be together. I didn't make up stories. Benjamin, I could tell when I met him that he was a very incredible man. But I used to imagine that I had almost like a chalkboard, an imaginary chalkboard. And I would write all of these things on this chalkboard. And I would say, God, he was really great. And he was so kind. And he seemed so present, right? He was so present. And I loved the fact that he wrote these books. That was kind of cool. And I loved the way he sat across from me and gave me his full attention. I loved the way he greeted me on that date. There were a lot of things that he did that were quite amazing and very impressive. And I remember it was almost like I wrote all of these different things on this imaginary chalkboard. And then I would take an imaginary eraser and just erase the whole thing, erase everything, right? And clear the slate, so that I didn't make up stories. I didn't get ahead of myself. I didn't start calling up my girlfriends and saying, oh my God, I think I met my guy, or he's so incredible. So right now we have a mastermind group. We've got about 4 women in it. We just had a 5th one join. Was it yesterday? She joined. So today will be her first tonight will be her first call with us. But one of the women in our group, and she is adorable, and she is growing by leaps and bounds. Having us there to really help mitigate some of this projection has been life-changing for her. What happens is, she learns some skills from us. So one of the skills that we teach my women is how to get emotionally naked, how to be vulnerable on a date, and how to create a beautiful, safe, loving space for a man to be able to open up to her, right? Because so many women today are going on dates and they're saying, gosh, men are so emotionally unavailable. They don't open up, they don't want relationships. They don't want intimacy. And that's not the case for my women. My women actually know how to create a space for a man to open up emotionally and then invite him in. And they actually see that their connections with men very quickly change when they start to do this work with my husband and me. So this client, she met a guy and she got emotionally naked with him, and he started to open up to her. And what happened was she started to create a story about what that meant. And she started to very quickly attach to him and get ahead of herself. And she was totally pulled in and started thinking, oh my God, this man is so different. He's different from any of the other men. He opened up to me. He must really like me. And then they went on a couple more dates, and she was really cute. She kept really doing what I call, she took the feminine lead, right? So my women, when they work with me, they don't just lean back and wait for men to do things and not chase men, which I think is really crap. My women learn how to lead, but they take what I call the feminine lead. And so this particular client was really taking the feminine lead. There is the cutest story. She had us, oh my God, she had us, our hearts were just split open. She told the most precious story. She went on a date and she was being emotionally naked and she was taking the feminine lead. And she said to her date, she said, do you like to hold hands? And he said, I do. And she said, would you like to hold my hand? And it was the cutest thing in the world. So sweet, so vulnerable, so feminine and inviting. And she had some very sweet, vulnerable moments where she felt such a great connection with this guy. But he also told her that he felt like she was like he needed to take things very slowly because he had just gotten out of a very long relationship and he didn't want to just jump into something again. And that was hard for her to hear because she really liked him, but she kept pushing things forward too quickly. And she was projecting, but he opened up to me and he was, he took my hand and he's been so sweet and he's been so vulnerable and I felt such a connection. And you cannot take one or two instances of connection and emotional nakedness and vulnerability and then assume that that means that a guy is into you or wants to have a relationship with you. You can't do that. But she was already, it felt like she was already planning their marriage, their wedding or whatever. And she really, really liked him. And I understand that, she had a little taste of this vulnerability and this emotionally naked connection with a man. And he's smart and he was handsome. And she quickly, quickly became attached. And he could feel her anxiety. In fact, he read at her recommendation, I think he read the book Attached, and he saw very quickly that, he was feeling avoidant in the relationship. And the reason he was pushing away and feeling like he wanted to pull away was because he could feel her anxiety. He could feel that she was very anxious. And so he started to distance himself from her. And she, being a great naked dater and a wonderful student, oh, Olga, did you go through that too, honey? I know it's really, really easy to fall into this, right? To take just a little piece of something and then magnify it and give it meaning when it's just a moment. It's a moment of connection. But what happens is, if we move too quickly, for men, a little bit of emotional connection goes a very long way. And so what they need is for us to have some emotional connection and then some playfulness, some lightness, not talk about the relationship or where it's going or push too hard or whatever. And what happened was, with a sequence of events, she wound up pushing him away. And I don't know if it was ever going to go anywhere anyway, right? Because he said he was still hurt from his last relationship and it was too soon for him and he needed to go slowly. And that really did scare him off. And she's still feeling a bit attached to that, to that instance. But what's so beautiful is this client, because she was working with us, she's now, we encourage our women no matter how much they like a particular guy, we encourage them. In fact, we really insist that they keep dating other men, even if they meet one they really like, so that they don't do this, so that they don't over focus on one man and then push him away because of their anxiety and because of romantic projection. Romantic projection can cause us to get into relationships with men that we should never get involved with. And a lot of men, Olga said that I made up a novel about it. We do that, Olga. I mean, we've all been there, honey. All of us, all of us. We do this, we make up a whole novel. We make up a story about who someone is and where it's going and what it means. And it's just all projection. That's why romance novels are the number one selling books of all. Women love romantic fantasies. We love that stuff. Lisa said, I had 3 great dates with a man, and I've been focusing on being light and playful. That's beautiful, Lisa. Beautiful. You want to have fun. You want to be light and playful. And of course, you will wander into deeper subjects and deeper conversations. Those things are going to come up naturally, but you can't make it mean anything. You got to write everything on that invisible chalkboard I was talking about, and then you have to erase it and not make up stories and not make meaning out of anything until you really get to know somebody. You cannot decide. We have another woman in our course who's dating a guy, and they have this fabulous, fun, wild connection, but and it might be her guy. It really may be her guy. I'm not sure, but there's such an over the top feeling about it that it gives me pause. It gives me pause because it's so big. It's such a big connection, and it's so over the top that I don't know if this is her guy, right? And she does attach meaning to it. In fact, in the very beginning, there was she was expecting certain things from him and expecting him to be inviting her to things and planning dates. And, the truth is they've only been known each other not even a month. I think it'll be a month this weekend or something, but it's a very, very, very new relationship. A month isn't much at all. And so we've really encouraged her to keep dating other men, even though it looks on the surface like everything's good and it's going in the right direction. We don't know. We don't know. They haven't had their first fight. They haven't, had anything come up that might be cause contention. There were a few things. Yeah, so Bert, thank you for that. And that's the truth. Bert says if the man is your person, the fact that the woman was dating others won't matter to him. And Bert, you are, as I know, first of all, I love that picture of you. That is such a handsome picture. But you are so, I know that what you're saying is true. And it actually mitigates a lot of the projection and anxiety when women are dating other people, especially in the very beginning, because they're focusing on other men and they're not putting all the focus on you. So it gives you some space to lead and to be able to, get familiar with her, and she won't push too quickly. And if you're a confident man, which I know you are, you're not gonna, that you're gonna win, right? You're gonna win her heart. That was the same with my husband, Benjamin. Yeah, it was the same with my husband, Benjamin. He knew I was seeing other men and he didn't care. He knew it. I flew to San Francisco to see a guy that I had been dating, and Benjamin knew. I didn't have to tell him. He pretty much figured that's what was going on. But he also knew that he wanted to get to know me and he was going to rise to the top, and he did. It didn't take him all that long, but he didn't have any worries about any of that. And I think it's also the sign of a very, very secure and grounded guy, that he's not trying to get you not to date other men, or that he feels like there might be competition. And you were probably dating other women, I'm guessing. I don't know, but you were out in the dating world. You were on the dating websites. So I don't know. I can't remember if Jill was the person, if you met Jill and then that was that and you were done, or what happened. But usually both people, we're all out there dating until we find that special person. And any mature human being knows that most people are seeing, not just one person until they find the one person they want to stop and get to know. So, yeah, but it really does. It's very, very important to keep dating other people while, especially in the early stages of a relationship, so you can mitigate that anxiety and projection that so many women feel in those very early stages. How many women who on this, who that's out there listening right now has had this happen to them, where they've met a guy and they were just blown away and they projected all of this positive stuff on him, and only to find out some weeks or months or even years later that he wasn't who you thought he was, that he was someone very, very different. And Lynn says me. I get a lot of, look at all the exclamation point. I know sometimes you don't want to admit to these things, but ladies, we've all been there, right? We've all done this. We've all done it. We've all done it. Olga says me. I don't know what Facebook user this is. Hi, Tina. Tina says me. Donna says, yup. I like the yup, Donna. Yeah, we've all been there, right? And it just sucks. I mean, I don't know about some of you. I'm just going to put this out there. I spent 13 years in a relationship with a man who, turned out to be a pathological liar. And I saw what I wanted to see. I believed what I wanted to believe. In my gut, I knew that there were things that were wrong, but I focused on all the good stuff. I focused on how funny he was, how exciting, how creative, you know. I mean, I saw what I wanted to see and I overlooked or made excuses for the things that I didn't want to see. And when I left the marriage, and I remember I was lying on my bed, sobbing, crying, crying, crying. And I was crying because um, I didn't realize he was a pathological liar until I left the marriage. And I started to talk to some people, some mutual friends, and I started to really learn about the lies that he had been telling me. It was there all along, but I just wanted to believe the stories he was telling me. And I started to hear many stories of how he had borrowed money from people and never paid it back. And, it was just awful. And I remember lying on my bed and realizing that, this man wasn't who I thought he was. And I had just put my head in the sand because I didn't want to be alone. And he was my partner, and I didn't want to have to leave the relationship. So I made excuses. And Stephanie says, yes. Hi, Stephanie. It's good to see you. Yeah, Lisa says it's easy to not want to know the truth. It really is. And it's hard. I think a lot of us know how difficult it is to date, to find somebody that you're even attracted to, and, to start to even want to get into a relationship with somebody. It's not easy. And back then, when I left my ex-husband, there was no online dating. It wasn't easy for me to find dates, right? I didn't even know once I got out of my marriage, part of me really did think that I might be single forever because I really wasn't good at that time at engaging with men. I was very shy and I didn't know if I was going to meet somebody. I really didn't. My history had not been good up until that point. I wasn't emotionally available. My heart wasn't open. And I was, both an anxious and avoidant dater. I would push away the men who really liked me, and I would chase and rush after the guys that I liked. So I bet a lot of you have done that too, right? I bet there's lots of you who are guilty of that. The ones that you like, you rush after them because they don't like you. And then the ones who like you, none of them are good enough. You don't want any of those guys. You want the ones that don't want you because they're a challenge and they're exciting, right? I did that. I did plenty of that. But I also did a lot of romantic projection with men I shouldn't have projected on. So, if a guy, I would look at who these guys were on the outside, and this got me into a lot of trouble. If a guy was handsome or he seemed confident or cocky or, he had a great job or whatever, I would project all these things on that guy, right? And I would make him into a prince. And I really didn't even know his character. I didn't know if he was a good guy or a not so good guy. Didn't know if he was treated women nice, kindly. I didn't know if he had his finances together. I didn't even know half of the time who these guys were. I would just look at them from the outside, just like you go online, or on a dating app and you see cute, hot guys and you start making up stories about, oh, he's hot and he's cute and he's my type, and you start making up all these stories about guys that you see online. You don't know their character. You haven't spent any time with them, right? And you're trying, you're deciding who they are, and you haven't even had a conversation with them. Lisa asks, is romantic projection a trait of the avoidant attachment style? Lisa, I think, it's just a trait of relationships, probably as much anxious attachment as avoidant. I think it happens in both. And as as we become much more secure daters, we stop doing this. We realize that it doesn't matter, yeah, it's great to find a hot guy that you're into, but you want to know their character. You want to know if that person has a good heart. You want to know, hi, Sherry, good to see you. You want to know if that person is worthy of your time and attention. I mean, I have had some very cute boyfriends, but in the long run, they didn't have it together. They just didn't have their act together, their lives together, and they weren't a good bet. Like in the long run, if you're really looking for a man to spend the rest of your life with, you've got to stop and look at a man's character and really get to know who he is. Lady Heba says, Lisa, if we ladies didn't know better, we could not have seen beyond that. Thanks for teaching and enlightening us. Oh, Cynthia, it's my pleasure. But really, you've got to stop and sit back and let these men prove themselves to you, not vest them with superpowers when you don't even know them based on, how they look or what their job is, or even based on chemistry, especially based on chemistry. Just because you feel chemistry with a man, and I really want you all to get this, just because you feel chemistry with a man, it doesn't matter. Chemistry has nothing to do with anything. It's Mother Nature. We are, when all is said and done, human beings are just other members of the animal kingdom. like every single animal in this kingdom, we were designed to procreate. All that Mother Nature cares about is propagation of the species. Mother Nature doesn't care if he has a good job, if, he wears nice clothes, if he, has a cute accent. All Mother Nature cares about is that we procreate. And so we were created for that. And chemistry has nothing to do with reason. It has to do with hormones. So when you're feeling chemistry with a man, that is a time to take a deep breath and take a step back and really stop and do your due diligence, because chemistry is going to cause you. Mother Nature could care less if you have a ring on your finger. It doesn't care if this guy is a womanizer and he's got 20 other children by 20 other women. All Mother Nature cares about, thank you, Bert, for those votes of confidence. All Mother Nature cares about is that human beings procreate. If you really get into the science of some of this stuff, it's fascinating. Two fabulous books. There are two books, and they are by an author. I'm going to put this in, I'm going to write this down. I'm going to put this here. So the author's name is Luann Brizendine, and she is a scientist. She's quite brilliant. And she wrote two books. And one is called The Female Brain, and one is called The Male Brain. And Luann Brizendine is really a fascinating woman. Which she went, I don't know if it was Harvard or Yale, but one of the Ivy League schools. And she was really a forerunner in her field. Whoops, I just put down brain. There is the male brain. Why is this not typing? The male brain. So these are two separate books, and one focuses on the male brain and one focuses just on the female brain. So when Luann Brizendine went to university and she was studying brain science, at the time, they literally taught that the male brain and the female brain were the same. And that the only difference was that once a month, the female brain was affected by a woman's menstrual cycle, and the estrogen would affect a woman's brain because she would be going through her menstrual cycle. But what Luann Brizendine started to study, and she was one of the forerunners of this, is that the male and female brains, it's not like the female brain is just a smaller version of the male brain. It's completely different. There are completely different segments of the brain that are devoted to different things. Women, the biggest, largest part of the female brain is devoted to communication. In the male brain, that communication is actually relegated to three smaller parts of the brain, because for men, it isn't as important. What was more important for men was orientation, right? That's why men have a better sense of direction and all. So there is a much bigger part of the male brain that has to do with direction and orientation, because men were hunters. So there's a big difference between the male and female brain. And one of the things she talked about is, and this is wild, but the amount of testosterone men experience when they are young is the equivalent of taking the male brain and just soaking it in a bucket of testosterone. So when men are going through puberty, all bets are off. Like, they are just being driven by their male hormones, and they're horny all the time, right? But so, we were designed for sex. Estrogen and testosterone, right? We were designed to procreate, and that's really what we're here for. So we have to bring the one thing the human species what we have that other animals don't have is the power to think and reason. And that is what makes us so special. We also have opposing thumbs, which are very, very important too to our growth and development as human beings. Other animals don't have opposable thumbs. But what makes us fortunate is that we can bring our reason, our brain, our thought process to bear, so we are not at the mercy of these hormones. We can control ourselves. We can use our logic and our reason so that we don't have to be at the mercy of our sex drive. Now, some people just can't. There are sex addicts and there are people who have very little control over their sex drive. But as human beings, we can control this. But this is why you need to slow down. You need to stop projecting romantically on people, on men that you're meeting. And Lisa Cohen says that at 60, it's like the bucket is all emptied out. I know, Lisa. Well, Benjamin, my husband, said something really wonderful. He said it is so wonderful to be at a stage in life where he doesn't feel like he's at the mercy of his hormones, that he is driven by hormones, because it really is tough for all of us, right? When we're younger, it may be wonderful to feel really aroused and turned on by somebody, just, at the drop of a hat. But it's also a tough thing because it drives us to make poor choices if we're not careful. And especially if you combine that with romantic projection and creating stories, we can wind up, just because we feel very aroused by someone that we meet, it can drive us to jump into a relationship. And it's, with somebody and mate and get, for women, we know with oxytocin that can even make us bond faster. And it's really nice, dating in midlife in some ways is a lot, or later in life in your, late 50s and 60s. In some ways, it's actually a luxury because we don't have those things dictating our every move. And it's, and driving us to make poor choices. So it's actually a good thing. I know that some of you may have some dating questions. Damn oxytocin, couldn't agree more. Damn oxytocin. Anybody else? Anybody have any questions about what I'm talking about romantic projection, about a particular person that you're dating? Sherry says, at 65 and single, it feels like all the good feelings are gone. Oh, honey, I'm 60, and what I can tell you is that, one of the great things about being able to have sex is that you don't have to be sexually aroused. Once you're in bed and you're touching and being touched and you're in a romantic moment, you can still feel aroused in those moments. It's just different. It just is different. My husband and I find that we have to make it a priority, that nature isn't driving us anymore, but we love spending time together and we love being together romantically. And so we make it a priority, even though it's not something that comes naturally for us anymore. Now, some people don't lose their sex drive as they get older. Some people still have still have that. But you don't have to lose it entirely. You can find a wonderful man that you trust, and you two can both be very sensual, very, very sensual together. And it's beautiful. Sherry, I have many clients in their 60s and 70s. In fact, I just enrolled the most wonderful 70-year-old woman in my course yesterday. And I can't wait to work with her. She's beautiful. She's so alive, and it's wonderful to see women in their 70s who look so young and are so, alive, and, who are going to probably live to 90, 95, maybe even 100, and that they're wanting to still find true love. They haven't given up on this. They're still willing to put themselves out there and do the work. And my oldest client last year who found true love was 78 years old. I really want everyone to hear this. Beth McGee. She was 78 years old, and I can say her name because I have a live interview with her on my website. If you want to go hear Beth's story, she is a kick and a half. Beth actually did a Facebook Live with me. So you can go to lisashield.com and watch my interview with Beth. Okay, she is really an inspiration. She is amazing, amazing, amazing. My interview with Beth McGee. She is incredible. So check out Beth, because if you, for all of you who might be thinking that ship has sailed, not going to happen for me, I missed the boat. Not true. If Beth can do it, we can all do it. So any other questions or comments about anything I've said about romantic projection, about jumping in too quickly, about feeling sexy or sexual in our 60s or 70s as we get up in years, or what a relief it is, right? What a relief it is. I mean, I know for me, it is such a relief not to, find my hormones leading me down blind alleys with men that I should never have gotten involved with. How many of you look back on past relationships and think about, wow, if it hadn't been for the chemistry and the sexual connection, I never would have and never should have gotten involved with that guy. I know I can't be the only one. I can't be. I cannot possibly be the only woman who's done that, right? We look back and we think, God, something was really clouding my judgment. Something was really clouding my judgment, because when I look back, I never should have done that. And we, some of us, not me, because I don't have kids, but I'm very sure that many, many, many women have children, and I'm sure you're all grateful for your kids and whatever, but you wound up in relationships and probably stayed way longer than you ever would have, because you wound up having children with this person that you maybe in hindsight would have, should know that you should have never really been with, right? And a lot of that is hormones that drive our romantic projections, cloud our judgment, and cause us to move too quickly and assume things about men that we don't know are really true. So for all the younger women who are watching, I urge you, I really urge you to slow down. Don't rush into anything. Do not have sex with men that you don't know well. Don't have sex outside of committed relationships. I wish these were things I had known better when I was young. So Lisa says I should have run when he said, I don't agree with you about taking it slowly. Yeah, women should be the ones who set the pace of the sex in the relationship. And when a woman says, I want to take it slowly, a man should honor that choice, because we are the ones who let a man enter our bodies, and we are the ones who get to make that choice. We do not enter a man's body. Women we get pregnant. We are much more susceptible to getting disease, and energetically, a man is penetrating your space. He is entering your space, not the other way around. So it is so important that you set the pace for that, and that you do not let men say to you, oh, we'll take it slow. Or if a man says, I don't think we should take it slow, you're going to put yourself, you give up your power when you do that. When a man is actually interested in you and you do slow down the progression of the sex, it does give him a chance to actually attach to you. However, if you have sex too quickly, in many circumstances, men are going to run because they're going to know that you're going to attach to them and they haven't had a chance to develop feelings for you. So you really want to slow it down. You got to take it slowly. Bert, you are so great for showing up tonight. Bert says, I appreciated the slower pace. We learned so much more about each other so that we had so much more in common than just the physical. Yeah, Bert, I think that's so wonderful. And I think, all the women here hearing that from such a handsome guy, right? And to hear from a mature man that it really was important for you too. My husband Benjamin said, that when we were dating, he said to me, I've rushed into things in the past and it hasn't worked. And I really like you and I want to get to know you. And I'm not rushing into anything, including sex. And he has a beautiful expression for this. Benjamin says, what happens if you have sex too quickly is that you become lovers before you become friends. And then it's very hard to try to go backwards and create the friendship after you've already become lovers. So establishing, that slower pace and learning about each other and establishing that connection and that friendship first is really the secret sauce that makes love last. It's the thing that, and the ability to slow it down, the desire to care enough to take the time to get to know each other. There's something so beautiful about doing that. And Bert, by the way, for a woman, just so that you know, it feels, for the right women, it feels so good to us to meet men who will slow it down with us. It just makes us feel respected and honored and cherished and adored. And it shows us that you're really interested in getting to know us and not just in getting us into bed. I think for so many women, we want to know that a man, is interested in us beyond sex and beyond our physical beauty, but that he really wants to know who we are as people. And it's really important for a woman to feel that, and for a man to give a woman the gift of taking the time to get to know her, respecting her enough and valuing, really honoring her boundaries. That is amazing. I mean, for us, that is the most beautiful feeling when a man does that for us. Cynthia said, you are so right, Lisa. I am one of the guilty. I did. And I am one of the guilty ones. Honey, so am I. I made so many mistakes, in this journey. I think we all do. It's so hard to really, there's so many moving parts, right? You're trying to figure it all out. You want to pick the right person. You can't tell, is he interested? Is he not? Is he a good bet? And then you add hormones into the whole mix. Oh my God, like this whole thing is so difficult. And, this is one of the reasons women work with me, is because I really have put the pieces of the puzzle together. And they come to me because they just want a roadmap. They're sick and tired of another learning experience and another lesson. We can all be positive and look on the bright side, and we can all be students of life. But, I really want to say that that positive thinking can also be a trap, because when there's an actual solution, why would you want to keep wasting time troubleshooting? You invest in a personal trainer. People invest in business coaches. They go to school to learn how to, to get an MBA and a PhD and a whatever. Why wouldn't you just work with an expert, right? Somebody who, for the last 19 years, has been in a guardian of your soul, of her soul relationship, who really knows how to just tell you, give you a step-by-step plan for getting this solved, right? It's that, there's a solution to this. Why would you want to sit there and keep trying to figure it out? And even sitting on these, Facebook Lives, like coming on my Facebook Lives, why not work with me and just get the whole roadmap? So you don't have to listen to me dole it out week by week, but you can just get the whole plan so that you can get it solved and go have a relationship and not sit on my Facebook Lives. Right? All right, everybody. I want to just say thank you to everybody who comes on these Facebook Lives. This is going to be my last live with Lisa. I still am going to continue doing my lunch with Lisa, and that lunch with Lisa is on Mondays from 11:30 to 12:30 Mountain Time. So please join me for that. I also have a podcast, and we will still be doing my other Facebook Live on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, and that is called Getting Inside the Right Male Mind, and that is with me and my amazing husband, Benjamin. Bert, I hope you'll come on that one. I think you'll really like Benjamin. He's a wonderful, wise and wonderful man. So if you enjoyed this presentation, please give me a thumbs up or a heart. It lets me know that I'm hitting all the right notes. And also check out my my podcast. I have a wonderful podcast called Dating Without Drama, and that is found wherever you get your podcast. So you can get it on Audible. You can get it on, where else can you find it? Audible, Spotify. You can get it on Apple, but please tune in, tell your friends, and come back. Yes, to know Benjamin is to love him. So please catch my other 2 Facebook Lives, but I'm going to be letting this one go so that I can free up my Tuesday nights. Love to everybody, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye, everyone.